Welcome to the Healthpreneur Podcast. My name is Amelia Case, New York Times bestselling author, former professional athlete, and founder of Healthpreneur, the world's leading company helping health and fitness experts start and scale high-end coaching businesses. If you want to attract more clients, learn how to convert them without feeling salesy, and deliver an amazing program for them on the back end, if you want to be inspired by what others just like you have gone through and how you can do the same no matter what life throws your way, then you are in the right place, because every single week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're going to be bringing you the best to help you take your knowledge and expertise to the next level with your health or fitness coaching business. And if you enjoy what you see and hear and would like to take your business to the next level, then I invite you to check out our free online training over at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. And for now, let's get into today's episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Yuri with you. Today we've got another special guest. Her name is Amelia Case, and I have no idea what we're going to be talking about today, but we're going to have a lot of fun. Amelia, welcome to the Healthpreneur Podcast.
Thanks.
So give our listeners a quick rundown of who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
I'm just coming up on my 30-year anniversary of owning a multi-disciplinary clinic here in Chicago.
Did you say 30-year or 3-year?
30.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah. So I started my career as a chiropractic doctor, and I have expanded it to all kinds of areas, although my heart is always in the chiropractic area. I have done functional nutrition, acupuncture, craniosacral therapy, Ayurvedic medicine. I don't know how many things, but my love for alternative medicine started when I was 13, and so it's just continued until now.
Good for you.
And my interest now is, it's funny that in the healthcare arena, I've been very much involved in the third-party payer system with my clinic. So we have medicine, chiropractic, physical therapy, clinical massage therapy, acupuncture, craniosacral therapy, nutrition. And we use probably 60 to 75% of our business is covered by insurance. Mm-hmm. As the insurance industry has been changing, the revenues have dropped in the business substantially. And so I've been wrestling with how to handle that, because it's sort of like a cultural edict that people get the privilege to use their insurance.
Yeah.
So I was pretty overwhelmed with that idea, and started to think about other things that I could do. And just reflecting upon what one of my expertises that I worked on developing, I started in 1997, was working with people on anxiety. I learned something called the DiMartini method, or actually I got certified in it that year, 1997. And I started having clients, and it's been a hobby for me to explore how anxiety, lives in a person. So it occurred to me anyway that I could take that hobby that's turned into kind of its own business, mm-hmm. and turn it into an online coaching business. I already have proof of concept, because I've had many clients from around the world and around the United States, mm-hmm. but I've been uncertain about, like here I am in Chicago, I have this clinic, and I acquire patients through referrals, through medical doctor referrals and patient referrals. But the idea of how to get patients or clients, let's say, over, through the ethers seemed like it was something so bizarre and mysterious. So I started looking to see if good people were offering business on the internet. That was my first question.
Yes, there are, yeah.
And I found out there are many really fantastic, beautiful people doing great things on the internet. So that gave me hope. And then I looked through the last 2 years for people who are doing it, and I think are doing it well. I found you. So you became one of my potential mentors, let's say. And also during these 2 years, I've explored the discomfort of letting go of the physical work, mm-hmm. which is kind of intimidating, it's a lot of responsibility to have a big staff and a location and all the overhead and stuff. But there's a part of me that's ready to either delegate that or move away from it. I've been slowly pulling back a little bit, and I'm very eager to find out how I could do this online. My clientele are high performers who struggle with anxiety and want to kind of keep it quiet. They are not interested in taking antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, but they don't always understand what anxiety is, why it comes. So that's my whole story. Done.
Awesome. All right. So thank you for the rundown. So high performers with anxiety. When you say high performers, like how does someone know if they're a high performer? Like who is, like if someone walks into your world, they're not going to call themselves a high performer. How would you know that it's that person?
It's such a great question, because high performers are never satisfied with what they've done. That's one of the hints. But they are in mid and upper level management in a corporate setting, or they're entrepreneurs, or they're super achievers. I've had quite a few people who are at the very top of their profession. I have NDAs on everyone I work with, but I can tell you that 2 of them have written books about their experience with coaching with me. And one of them is an HLN anchor for the last 15 years, Robin Mead. So she's at the top of her game, and she wasn't afraid to say that even being on TV and practicing and being a public figure, that she would still struggle with some aspects of anxiety.
Sure.
Other people they're more cautious about saying it, but they're usually at the top of their game, and they have been either modifying their sensations with alcohol, or eating gummies every day, or smoking weed, or that's their way of trying to stay away from, quote, too many drugs.
Yep.
And usually what happens is some like little bit of a crisis, like either they have somebody in the company who's competing with them or pushing back at them, and the anxiety gets a little too strong to maintain their old regimen.
Sure.
Or they have sort of a life crisis that compounds the anxiety. So maybe a health crisis, or someone in the family has a health crisis.
So the anxiety that they're experiencing, is it usually related to an acute situation, like you just mentioned, or is this something that is like ongoing every day, week after week, like how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to meet this goal? Or is it something very abrupt happens and all of a sudden they're looking for a solution to better handling that?
It's a little bit of both, but I would say nobody's ever come to me for a financial crisis. Usually these people are making, money's not the issue.
Yep.
It's more like not understanding something that they finally identified inside. Like, let's say, like one of my clients, she just had a big kind of showdown with her mother and her sister. And just the emotional pain of that. It wasn't anything unusual. It was just like kind of one of those straw that broke the camel's back type of things. But it was a bad scene. She's a very important person in her industry and used to handling all kinds of problems, but she can't handle a problem with her mom and her sister. After that, she was having shaking feelings inside, and someone recommended that she reach out to me. So she would say the crisis was like the straw that broke the camel's back thing with her mom and her sister. She can't take it anymore. But what that revealed to her was her own uncertainty. And then somehow her uncertainty turned into anxiety. And then it's like, it's one of those things that it gets so messy. I say it's like getting gum out of hair. It's not that it's like one thing. It's just that too many points of anxiety have been overlooked, covered up, or numbed. And then finally there's a tipping point, and then the person either connects with, okay, this doesn't feel right. And that's when they seek me out, or they aren't at all fit to be a client. They just fall apart and they go down a medical route or wherever they go, but they don't come to me.
So yes, I mean, it's great that you have the most important thing that I consider in in building a successful coaching business really is expertise, because expertise is the foundation that everything emanates from. Because if you have expertise like 30 years in practice, or you have many, many, many examples of people you served, number one, you understand who that person is, like you described. Number two, you have confidence to have a conversation with prospective clients and have the confidence to be like, yeah, like, here's what it takes to work with me. Here's how we do it. Do you want in? So you have that expertise, which is awesome. So the question, I guess, that you posed, and I just want to clarify this, is how do you find clients online, or how do you have those clients find you? Is that pretty much the essence of what we're talking about?
Yeah. How do they find me?
Okay. So how are you currently, or like, what are you currently doing online to attract people into your worlds with respect to helping them with anxiety?
The only thing that I've been doing with any consistency is offering shares through a blog.
When you say offering shares, what does that mean?
Like writing. So
you're writing on your blog?
Yeah.
Okay.
I decided to call this business Done with Anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting ready to set up something on LinkedIn, which is a separate group that has a different name that's less running away from pain, but running towards pleasure. Let's say that. Yep. So, but I've had the blog, and it's been more of this exercise of disciplining myself and learning how to pace myself to offer information that is different than what I've been offering on a daily basis for the last 30 years. Yep. I've started to explore some things on Facebook, although I'm not sure what to do with it. So I just do like kind of stupid shares, to tell you the truth.
So just posting organically on your page type of stuff.
Yeah, not even, I'm so weird. It's like the identity has been a little bit of an issue for me, because I am only interested in people who are high performers and have like big questions and big, deep questions.
Yep.
And so it's funny, because my experience is that they try to be a little more private about the experience of anxiety. There's something that's a conflict in my own mind about like, well, they're not going to go in public and say like, yeah, I am a real high performer. I'm struggling. Hi, let's all talk. Let's all be in a group.
Sure. Yeah. So with the blogging right now, like, is this working? Like, how much traffic does your blog get? Or like, if you publish something, do people see it? Do they read it? And if they do, are there enough people to generate leads and clients from that?
I'm going to say no to everything, because I don't know what all this stuff means. So I'm just learning, like, I don't know what SEO words to attach to the blog.
Yep.
I just found out that there's a place to put what I write called Medium. I didn't know that before. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of a dimwit when it comes to like technology or online. All of my work online in these last 2 years has been to see what's offered, find out if there are good people, find a place and a way to put my blog and run a business. So I set up a whole business platform so I'd be ready. Like till now, I'm actually ready. I've got, it's connected to my bank and all that kind of stuff. I have I've got the background. And so now I'm ready to put the action on top of the background.
Yeah, you've done the hard work. Like the hard work, and I tell everyone this, like the hard work is becoming the expert. Like you spent all this time in school, helping people. That's the hard work. The quote unquote easier side of it is really building the business. But the sad part is that no one teaches you how to do that properly. And unfortunately, the internet makes it more complicated because there are so many people saying so many different things. And it's very confusing. So I'll give you my 2 cents in terms of, I'm assuming you want to attract clients sooner than later, right?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So the path 1, which I've just drawn out here, what this represents is what most people do, especially in the health space, is they blog, they set up some videos, maybe on YouTube, they post on Facebook, all the stuff you mentioned, which is very, very common. And it's very common that it doesn't work. And there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, you mentioned that your blog doesn't get a lot of traffic, and that's not your fault. That's just the nature of building a blog. It takes a huge amount of volume and time and SEO, which again is very technically complicated for a lot of people. And it's something I strongly recommend not doing because, and this is even more so important now than it was 10 years ago, Google continually has made changes with their algorithm, and most notably about 8 months ago, they more or less handicapped most alternative health websites. Even the ones that were getting very high rankings on Google and a lot of traffic were overnight cut in half. And our site, we had 1.4 million visitors a month. We didn't get affected in too big of a way. But what's interesting is that our editorial team, so we were publishing twice a day, 7 days a week, driving a huge amount of SEO backlinks. That was costing us $30,000 a month. I'm like, I don't know what I was smoking, but I wouldn't recommend doing that in any business. So we stopped doing that, and within 5 months, our traffic dropped by 50%. A good friend of mine, Dr. Josh Axe, arguably the largest health site in the world, overnight lost 11 million visitors per month as a result of that Google change. And now Google has said, if you are not a major medically peer-reviewed or peer-supported type of platform, you're not going to compete with the medical news today, the healthline.com, webmd.com nonsense. So the organic content game is very, it's depressing, to be very honest. Like, you have a lot of knowledge and stuff you want to share with people, but for that knowledge to be seen, the likelihood is very, 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 very low unless you already have a big platform. Does that make sense? So that leaves us with social posting, right? You want to share your content on Facebook, for instance, or Instagram or LinkedIn or so forth. The name of the game there is, again, most platforms, because they are advertising platforms, Facebook being the biggest, have said, if you post anything organically, like you just post something on your wall, less than 2% of people that follow you see that. So if you've got 1,000 people that follow you, 20 of those people will see your post, which is, again, not very encouraging. Instagram is heading that way because Instagram is owned by Facebook. LinkedIn obviously has their own advertising platform, so it's heading that direction as well. So the reality of building a business in this day and age, especially online, and especially if you don't already have a massive following and platform, is you have to pay to play. And what that means is, if we look at path number one, let's just call this organic and free, it's going to take you a very long time. So if this is time, it's going to take you a very long time to get there. Path number two, which is what I strongly suggest, is right here. And the only difference is that this is pay to play. So what does that look like? Essentially what that looks like is you have a message that you want to share with your audience. With Facebook, and what I'd recommend is Facebook because it is the easiest and the biggest platform, 2.4 billion users. Every single person, the high performers, the executives, the people with anxiety, even though if they're not saying it publicly, every single person you want to reach is on Facebook. And you don't need 1 billion people. You might need a couple hundred at the most. I don't know. So the thing with Facebook is, think about it this way. Facebook has all the clients you could ever ask for. And Facebook has told us, if you want to reach those clients, you have to pay us some money. So all it is it's a bartering game. You're saying, okay, Facebook, here's $100. I want you to show this message to more people. Facebook says, cool, with $100, I'm going to show this message to this many people. And you just tell me what audiences those are. Are they in the US? Are they men? Are they women? Or what are their age groups? What type of interests or likes do they have? Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
So all it is really figuring out, okay, who do I want to speak to, right? And you obviously have a very, very clear picture of that. And then it's about understanding that building a business online is no different than building a business in person. And I think this is the biggest mindset shift that everyone watching and listening to this needs to make, is that they come online and they think they can build a business for free. But I mean, Amelia, let me ask you, does your clinic cost you money?
A lot.
a lot. So what's the difference if we do that in person or online? And that's the biggest mindset shift people have to understand is like, if you pay, I don't know what your lease is or your, the cost of your facility, it's probably, more than a few $1,000s a month. And if you take the approach of trying to build a business online for free or the cheap route, that would be like saying, I'm going to just set up a lemonade stand type of clinic on the corner of some street and hopefully not pay any rents. And hopefully people will actually take me seriously. And that's the way most people run their businesses online. And that's why most people fail. So when I say pay to play, it's really about understanding you have to invest in your business if you want it to actually be a business. So with respect to getting clients, all the clients you have or you ever want are on Facebook. And all we need to do is figure out what is a message that is going to get those people with anxiety, those high performers, to be like, yep, that's me. Even if they don't comment and engage in the post, but they're like, yeah, that's me. Tell me more about this. All we have to figure out is what's that message? And then we have to determine how much money do we want to give to Facebook. And it could be $15 a day, $20 a day, whatever it is. And that message will be shown to those types of people, okay? Now, the more money you give Facebook, the more people Facebook is going to show that to. And that's really all this is. So it's a really amazing opportunity because like you could build a very successful business. You could get in front of the exact clients you want in the space of a couple of days of submitting a Facebook ad. And that's how powerful this is. Now, the other side of this equation is, well, where do people go from the Facebook ad? So there's two options. Number one, you could actually drive people locally to your clinic, right? That's a very real option, a very great way of doing things. Second way is if you want to serve people nationwide and more location independent, is we recommend from a message on Facebook, a Facebook message or ad, is we're going to invite them to some type of presentation, right? A webinar, online training, etc. And that is the only piece of content your business needs to grow exponentially. You don't even have to have a blog. Like when we started Healthpreneur, I didn't have a blog. I didn't have a YouTube channel. I didn't have Instagram. I did nothing. The only thing I did was I created one webinar, and then we drove all of our Facebook traffic to that one webinar. And that's how we grew to where we are today. And obviously now I do a little bit more content because I want to, but it's not required to generate clients for us. Is this making sense so far?
Yeah.
So we call this, what I'm talking about here is a perfect client pipeline. And the nice thing about this is that it requires none of the stuff that most people do. We're doing 4 things and 4 things only. We have a Facebook ad that leads to a webinar. And the webinar is the only piece of content you need. And from the webinar, we invite people to a call. We'll have them fill out an application first to ensure we have some information about them ahead of time. So these are the only 4 things you need to have in your business. And then once they've enrolled with you, you obviously have the delivery of your coaching. Whether that's one-on-one or group is up to you. But that's, as a business model, all that is required. And this is all we do with our clients. And it can help you go from where you are to a couple $1,000s a month. It can help you go from a couple $1,000s a month to an 8 or 9-figure business. Or really, there's no limit on this. And the beautiful thing about this is it's simple, which means that there's very few moving pieces and it's not complicated or complex. So we have a message on Facebook that we say, okay, Facebook, show this to men or women. Does it matter to you, or doesn't matter? So no. Say men or women, Canada, US, 35 to 50 as an example. And I'm going to give you $20 a day to do so. Facebook says, cool, thank you so much. I'm going to show it to X number of people. Now, let's say that your audience is this circle. And what you're doing is you're saying, okay, Facebook, I'm just going to use an arbitrary number. With $20 a day, I'm going to get in front of a small percentage of those people. The more money you spend, the more money you give Facebook, the more people Facebook is going to show that message to. And this is where understanding how your numbers look. So for instance, if you spend, let's say $100 a day, how many people actually watch the webinar. From that, how many people actually book a call, and then you reverse engineer your numbers. So it's a little bit of math, a little bit of psychology, but it's very, very simple. And the nice thing about this is that you're building a system that is independent of your effort. So that if you're taking off for a couple days, or you're sick one day, or whatever it is, this system is still working on your behalf. The only thing that requires your time is the phone call. And over time, I'm not too sure what just happened there. Over time, this is something that someone else could do on your behalf. If you had a team member who could take these calls to figure out if that person is a good fit to work with you, etc. So that's how you go from where you are to attracting clients. And it's really, really simple in practice, but it doesn't mean it's easy, right? There are obviously nuances at each step of the game here. But like, this is like, it's a message I've probably said, if you guys are watching and listening to this 1,000 times, because this is all we do, right? There's nothing else that I've seen that even comes close to this. Because what happens, have you ever had people book a call with you, or potentially want to work with you who weren't qualified, who just kind of, booked a session or booked a call as a discovery call, and you're like, why is this person even speaking to me? Like, they're not a good fit. Has that happened to you?
Yeah.
So what this pipeline helps you do is it helps you avoid that, because we're having people jump through hoops by reading a longer Facebook ad, attending, let's say a 45 to 60 minute webinar, then filling out an application, then booking a time to speak with you. These are like things that most people don't want to do unless they've hit a tipping point in their life, right? And what most coaches do, or most experts do when it comes to their online business, is they have a website. And on that website, they have a button that says book a call or a free consult. And anyone can book a call. And that's a very, very, it's not a great situation, because you're not qualifying people properly. You're getting people on the phone who have no context about who you are, how you work, how you can serve them. And so you end up wasting way too much time on the phone. The enrollment rate is a lot lower because they're not pre-qualified. So this whole pipeline eliminates that, because it qualifies people in your webinar, it qualifies people based on the application. And then when you have the phone call, you know that those people have come through this system. So they buy into your philosophy, they buy into what it is that you are selling them as an idea in terms of how to overcome anxiety. And they're thinking to themselves, this Amelia lady, she sounds like she knows her stuff. She probably could help me. And the right people will end up going the full distance with you. And that's all you need to do. So does that kind of answer your question, Amelia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can I ask you a couple things?
Sure.
So I'm gathering that the webinar is not live.
No, recorded once, evergreen.
Okay. Like on Webinar Jam type of thing?
Yeah, you can use Webinar Jam. We did before, and then we ran into some major technical issues with them. So we don't recommend Webinar Jam anymore. We actually just host everything on ClickFunnels. So we use that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about messaging, is the message something in your specialty as healthcare? So is the messaging more, in your experience, effective if it's prescriptive, or if it's kinesthetic, like more like identifying what the feelings are that the person is having, like helpless or confused or discouraged or out of control, like feelings,
Yep.
versus prescriptive, like, I've read lists and I think I have the checklist for anxiety.
Yeah. So we have this saying, so you have know-how, right? You've got know-how to help people, but know how, which means don't give away the how. Because if someone says, oh, cool, thanks so much, this has been great, I'm going to try this on my own, you haven't served them. So part of the process is really, how do you share content? How do you add value without giving away the how? There's a very specific way of doing that. But this is also one of the areas where a lot of people fall short. And this is one of the reasons why playing the organic content game is just, it's a race to the bottom, because you're having to compete, for instance, with blog posts that are like 101 ways to use coconut oil. Okay, cool, I'm gonna make one that's 110 ways to use coconut oil. So it's not a really smart way of doing things. So yes, the most important thing in your messaging is speaking. I call this the one word marketing plan, and it's empathy, right? If you can speak to someone in a way where they're like, holy cow, that's exactly my situation, they're in. They're in. And that is a skill that I think is largely forgotten by a lot of health experts, which is weird because we spend so much time interacting with our clients that we have all the data we need. We have the conversations, we've had the, those moments where they've shed their soul, they've told us everything that's going on. That is everything you need for your marketing. And what Facebook allows you to do is to put a message together, a Facebook post together that speaks to that person where they're like, wow, that's bang on. Let's go to the next step and figure out, what's going on here. So it's always going to be more diagnostic than prescriptive, right? So more kinesthetic, as you mentioned, in terms of like fears, frustrations, desires, really being able to highlight those so they finally find someone who gets them. And that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
So it's more, would I be right in saying it's more descriptive? Like, here's how you feel. Here's who you are.
Exactly. So it's more descriptive. I mean, there's many different ways of putting a message out there, or it could be story based, it could be factual based, whatever. But the key is when the person is scrolling on their phone or scrolling on Facebook on their desktop, they come across this post that doesn't even look like an ad, because it's just, it would almost be like something they read on their profile page, right? It's like you would post something that was like, wow, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And that's kind of what I'm going through, as opposed to, here are the top 10 ways to beat anxiety, right? And it's like, cool, thank you so much. I'm going to go do that on my own and give it a shot. So there's definitely a right way to do it, definitely a wrong way to do it. I think a lot of people are afraid of Facebook ads because they don't know how to do it properly, or maybe they have in the past and they've wasted money because they didn't know how to do it properly. The other thing that's very important to understand with Facebook is there are very specific tones, if you will, or policies that you have to abide by in our space, right? And that's something that can get into some murky water if you say the wrong things or imply the wrong things. And that's something where, we help a lot of our clients navigate that, because otherwise, if you're implying there's something wrong with someone, that's a big issue with Facebook. So there's ways of wordsmithing your messages to be more compliant. And that's an area where we spend a lot of time with our clients, because otherwise you can get it. Your Facebook asking you disapproved, or worse, your entire account gets shut down, which is not ideal, because that kind of kiboshes your business. So again, go ahead.
Can I ask you some more questions?
Yeah, we'll take two more, and then I got to jump off in a few moments here.
So I guess then I'll pare this down. So two more questions. So one is, on the Facebook ads, do you recommend that it's a video type of ad?
Not at first. At first, keep it simple. Use text and an image.
Okay. Yeah. And then my other question is this. So because my space is alternative medicine, I would say, if you asked me when I first started, what do I want to do? I would say, I was really interested in the spine and interested in, full expression of potential. And that was very idealistic. When people started coming in and, even to this day, 35,000 patients later, I've never had one person come in with one problem. The person comes in like, the back hurts, the hip hurts, the digestion's messed up, the constipation is there's insomnia, they have chronic asthma, it's like these too many problems showing up. And what happened was 7 years into practice, when I decided to get certified in the DeMartini method, it was because the people who were coming in were expressing so much. They weren't mentally ill. They just were freaked out. They were like jumpy. They were easy crying. They were easy to anger. They were just, their sympathetic nervous system dominance was just off the wall.
Yep.
So I was looking, well, what can I do to add value to the practice to, help them? And then after I got certified in that method, I said, oh, I'm going to try taking people just with anxiety. Maybe they'll end up becoming patients. But the weird thing is they ended up coming from not even Chicago. So then that's how this thing became a hobby. But it became a hobby steadily since 1997. And so now when I think about, like how I would identify myself as an expert, I most certainly am an expert in helping people who are unwell get well, whether it's structurally or chemically or mental/emotionally. But my background, despite my certifications, is still not, there's no specific certification, maybe psychology for helping
It
people
doesn't matter.
with anxiety.
Because this is the thing, like people don't care. Like most people don't care about certifications, years in school. All they care about is, I have a problem. Can you help me solve it? Right? That's all they care about. And then obviously there are people that are a bit more logical. They want to see some accreditation. But let me ask you this, like, would you rather work with someone who has a bunch of certifications or 30 years experience with 35,000 patients?
Yeah,
Right?
experience.
Yeah, totally. So you have that box checked off. If I can make an assumption of where you're going with this, are you asking or about to ask, like, how do you pigeonhole yourself into one narrow niche, or can you serve multiple different people with multiple different issues? Is that kind of where you're going with this?
I do want to be in a very specific defined area online, which is helping high performers with high functioning anxiety. I want exactly that.
Perfect.
But because my background is very diverse and it's not specifically to that, although I can say, some very high substantial number of people who've come in have it's absurd how many people are suffering with anxiety. Yeah. I don't want to treat every level of anxiety, simple anxiety. I want to treat, I'm in the middle of the city. So I've had presidents, CEOs, billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs. I'm very accustomed to taking care of and helping high performers. It's the group I prefer. Yeah. And the thing that got them to where they are is usually the thing that got them to where they are. They're like, they work hard, they think hard, they push hard. And, that's kind of what's gotten them in their space of anxiety. And it's also what'll get them out. They can use their same strengths to get to the next level. And also they understand that there's no finish line. They understand, like, at every level of accomplishment, even when they accomplish overcoming anxiety, that at the next challenge they have, that they could have a whole different anatomical and physiological experience that could also include a different kind of anxiety.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I like the realistic, I like the high performers because they're very dynamic.
Sure.
That's what I would like to work with. So,
and that's very important. Like, if you understand who you want to work with, because you should be able to choose who you want to work with, and understand that you have many tools in your toolkit to help them through this, right? And that's the nice thing about the diversity of your background, is that you have an approach that deal with anxiety that might be very different than someone else, right? Which is great. So just to kind of bring this all full circle, we've talked about you wanting to help high performers with high functioning anxiety. The main issue was you've had a successful practice clinically, but obviously that's gone down revenue-wise because a lot of the insurance stuff. You want to move more to online to serve people virtually, but how to do so with the internet and how do we attract people and our perfect clients specifically. Right now you've been doing a lot of blogging, organic stuff, really hasn't made a huge impact, and that's where I introduced the Perfect Client Pipeline as a smarter way of doing things. So just before we finish off, what from this conversation has been most valuable or most useful for you?
I wouldn't say valuable or useful, but I would say it's enticing to believe there's a platform that could help identify where these people are. Mm-hmm. Or more specifically, I think, like, the patients who've come in or the clients that I've had who've said, thank God for so-and-so, I found you. I feel like there are people, like, I want them to be able to find me. I want them to have an easier way to get to me.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And so that's probably, just looking at your little boxes here. The rest of it, I've had gazillions of patient interviews, consults, online consults. The rest of it is just like, I can do everything beautifully, easily. It's just the wanting to get them to get through this experience.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Cool. Amelia, this has been fun. I enjoy having these conversations because usually the same stuff happens or comes up over and over and over again, which is great because I think it's an important concept for all of us to continually be reminded of. So Amelia, thank you so much for opening up, for sharing what's going on with your business. Hopefully this has been helpful, at least at a kind of a primary level. And for all of you guys watching and listening, if you've enjoyed this, awesome. Hopefully you've seen this message now several times. And I want to thank you guys for taking the time for being with us, and Amelia for your time as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of the Healthpreneur Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, here's what I'd like you to do right now. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Healthpreneur Podcast on iTunes. And while you're there, leave us a rating or review. It helps us get in front of more people and change more lives. And if you're ready to start or scale your health or fitness coaching business and want to start getting in front of more people, working with them at a higher level without trading time for money, then I invite you to check out our free 7-figure health business blueprint training, totally free right now. And you can do so at healthpreneurgroup.com/training. For now, thank you so much for joining us. Continue to be great, do great, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.